And I'll never forget the message she sent me about a week and a half later. She said, I've been using these things for 10 days. And she goes, I'm so glad you told me it would get worse before it got better because it for sure did. She goes, I would have quit had you not said that. But once I understood and once I saw the results and could tell, like, oh my gosh, it's coming out of my body. It's moving out of my system. She had these mood swings, her gut changed, right? And not for the better, but it was finally moving stuff through. And then she was able to get on the other side of it. She was literally, they've almost stopped. They're not quite gone, but they've almost stopped. And I was like, that's really fast for that to turn around like that. But some women have that. For some women, it is like a general taper down. And others, it's like it can get worse. And then all of a sudden, poof, there's an end date and that's it. And she's never had a hot flash. Hey there, welcome to the Female Health Solution podcast, where we discuss women's health, hormones, and everything else in between. Join me as we dive into the tools that you need to live your healthiest life. Hot flashes. Do you get them? How often? How do we deal with them? We're going to talk all about that today in the episode of How to Tackle Hot Flashes on the Female Health Solution podcast with me, your host, Dr. Beth Westy. Now, hot flashes can present really differently, and some women experience them a lot, or they might have different episodes, I'll call them, of hot flashes at different times. There can be certain triggers, which we'll talk about, and just know that it can be really different for you than it has been for somebody else. These also can be some of the most frustrating things to deal with because they can be really unpredictable, and you can expect a certain regulation with them, and then they're not regulated. Or you can think, gosh, I went through menopause 5 years ago. I should be done with the hot flashes. Why the heck are they not done with me? What is going on, right? Or to think, yeah, they weren't that bad, and now all of a sudden they're getting terrible. What the heck? We're going to dive into it. I'm so excited to talk about this. This is something that a lot of women go through. Now, keep in mind that this can present differently for you. And one of the key things that we use to help guide you through this is your results from your Dutch test. If you have not had a Dutch test, if you are interested in working with us, guiding you through this using nutrition, healthy lifestyle habits, all the tips and tricks that are going to help your system function better so you feel better, make sure you go in the notes, click that link, get on the list so you understand this is the big key. And then we guide you through with these results specifically to make sure you are being your healthiest self overall. Okay. Hot flashes. Now, a lot of times there are different theories on this. There's a temperature dysregulation because there is like a flush of hormone, things like that. But from an Eastern medicine standpoint, one of the easiest ways to explain this is that there's, in Eastern medicine, we talk about stuck energy a lot, chi, but a lot of times it has to do with your stressors response and how well your body is processing things through. So there's a few things that I really want you to think about. How is this functioning for you specifically? One is stress. Stress, just your general stress on a day-to-day basis. Where are your stress levels at? If you get more stressed, and this can also include a physical stressor, meaning you might say, oh, I worked out earlier today, and then later in the day, I went and did laundry and ran upstairs, and now I'm pouring sweat with a hot flash. What the heck? That stressor was an overload. Your stress bucket got full, and then it started to overflow, which means you had that stress response with the hot flash. Stress. You can have emotional stress. You can have chemical stress. What would be the chemical stressors? Caffeine. Caffeine is a chemical stressor. It increases your cortisol. One of the quickest ways to really, boom, increase your cortisol, caffeine, right? Also things like alcohol, sometimes overall fermented foods that can be a big one, right? If you are, eating spicy food, that can also be a trigger, right? Because that chemical stress in your system. And I'm not saying spicy food is bad, right? Or fermented foods are bad. It just adds a stressor that your system has to deal with. And if your body is having a hard time or already has its stress bucket full, it's too much all at once. So stress is a big factor. I cannot tell you how many women I have talked to, worked with, etc., that have had hot flashes or flushes, maybe warmth or something, or maybe like, no, I think my hormones are changing, but it's not that bad. and then a stressful event happens in their life. A birth, a death, a divorce, or something, right? Job change. And within a very short span of time, a week to a month, your life is totally different. And that stress is so heavy to carry. And that hot flash sensation comes on like crazy. And so often, what we're told to do right away, or what is recommended by the Western world, is to just go on hormones and things like that. Now, I'm not saying there's a right or a wrong here at all. What I am saying is that if there is dysfunction within your body, let's work on correcting that first and getting your body working better before you slap a bunch of stuff on the outside, right? Or add a bunch of things in. So looking at your hormone test and everything else, that's one of the things that it just blows my mind sometimes, where women will be like, yeah, hot flashes and this and this. And then they just put me on HRT and I'm like, well, did they test your hormones first? Well, no. Wow. Okay. So we don't even have a baseline then. We don't even have a baseline. And then for a lot of women, that does not improve things and it actually makes it worse. Yeah. So when we're looking at getting your hormones tested and going from there and then looking at your stress levels, that's one of the things about a Dutch test I love too, is that we look at your stress response. Then we also get a good idea about, how long can we expect your system to work through this? Now, I've done other podcasts on stress and other things to help with that. So you can refer to those if you want to deep dive into that. But really specifically speaking about hot flashes, you're never going to hear from me something about, just add this one thing in. This is going to help your hot flashes for sure across the board. Just do this. Just keep the temperature in your house cooler. Just get better sleep. Eat this food. Are you kidding me? If it was that easy, women wouldn't have an issue. It is not that easy. This is right. This is something to process and understand. So this is why it's so essential we understand what your system is doing. What was the other thing? I'm going to look. Oh yeah, make sure you're meditating. Make sure you're meditating. Okay, that's another suggestion. Sure. Now, for some people too, you can have something that triggers a hot flash like sugars, and then all of a sudden it doesn't, and then other times it gets worse again. Yes. This is not a standard, right? But stress and stress triggers are one of the number one things that we look at and try and help your body process better. That's why adaptogens are so beautiful. That's why adaptogens are so wonderful to help your cortisol response. The other thing that we look at is how your body's processing everything out and the pathways. Now, when I say pathways, that's a very general term. What I'm specifically talking about are the two main pathways that your body moves everything out. Because when your system, the body never does anything without a reason, right? If you eat food that's got a bad bacteria in it, salmonella or something, what happens? You get food poisoning and your body will reject it violently until it's gone, right? That's your body doing it on purpose, right? Yes. Never does anything without a reason, right? So if your system is having a hard time processing things through either the water soluble pathway or the fat soluble pathway, it will create a way to do that. So sometimes women don't realize, because the hot flashes are very obvious, right? You feel hot, then you start sweating and are dripping with sweat, everything else. Yes. But that's a water soluble pathway. Your body is trying to cool its temperature down and move things through. So hydration, minerals, lymph flow, all of those things are very important for that water soluble pathway. We also have to help out the fat soluble pathway, which is liver and gut. And the most common time for women to have hot flashes or night sweats in the middle of the night is right in that time frame that is actually connected to your liver. Google this. You don't even have to believe me. Google Chinese medicine clock, and there will be a clock with different time frames. 1 to 3, liver. One of the most common times that women will wake up with issues, with hot flashes, night sweats, everything. Yeah. With this in mind, we want to work on your liver and gut health. Now, how do we do that? Well, some of this is going to come from your Dutch test too, but otherwise, alcohol is obviously hard on your liver, so that's a twofer. Sugars are hard on your liver. Nightshade vegetables sometimes can be irritating. We also want to make sure that you are not bloated, that don't have constipation or diarrhea or alternating or whatever. Heartburn. All these things can indicate that there's something wrong with your gut. So for a lot of women, we want to look at that. Now, if we're going to do a full scope of looking at things, and this is for somebody who has struggled with hot flashes for a long time, maybe they got a blood panel done, but they didn't get a urine test for hormones. And they're like, yeah, I've got problems, everything. If you're like, I want to look at everything, I want to knock these suckers out and I don't want them to come back. What I usually recommend is a Dutch test, a dried urine test for hormones, a GI map. So we look at your gut and don't miss anything. And then just double checking your thyroid, because your thyroid's main job is to regulate your body temperature. So a full thyroid panel, TSH, T3s, T4s, reverses antibodies, the full panel. Get a full scope look at what your system is doing, not doing, etc. That's really the best way to go about it. That way we're not missing anything. Then from those results, making a customized recommendation list for you to follow. And it's incredible at how quick things can turn around. My favorite, I've told this story before, but this is my favorite. This is my favorite hot flash story. This gal, she had struggled with hot flashes for almost 2 years, had done everything, had tried different medications, had seen 3 different OBGYNs, had done all this stuff that her friends and her sister told her to do. Nothing was touching it. It was not helping. And she's like, I don't see any end in sight, and it's starting to make me crazy. She's like, I'm legit going crazy. I can't sleep in the same bed as my husband, because if I feel the heat from his body, I will go engulfed in flames and I can't stand it. And she's like, so I've been sleeping in the guest room. This is putting a strain on our relationship. I don't like it. He doesn't like it. I am miserable. Help, right? So what did we start with? We started with a Dutch test. And I said, here's what we got to focus on. Now, the important thing is that I told her, hey, things can get worse before they get better, because what I saw going on in her report was a big backlog of hormone. So once we cleared that out, I said, these hormones that are backlogged because this pathway's not been working correctly, when it starts opening up and moving through, it can come screaming through like the dam just breaks, right? And floods everything. So keep in mind, it might get worse before it gets better. And I'll never forget the message she sent me about a week and a half later. She said, I've been using these things for 10 days. And she goes, I'm so glad you told me it would get worse before it got better, because it for sure did. She goes, I would have quit had you not said that. But once I understood and once I saw the results and could tell, like, oh my gosh, it's coming out of my body. It's moving out of my system. She had these mood swings, her gut changed, right? And not for the better, but it was finally moving stuff through. And then she was able to get on the other side of it. She was literally, they've almost stopped. They're not quite gone, but they've almost stopped. And I was like, that's really fast for that to turn around like that. But some women have that. For some women, it is like a general taper down. And others, it's like it can get worse. And then all of a sudden, poof, there's an end date and that's it. And she's never had a hot flash since. Isn't that crazy? But again, it's all about function and getting your system to work better. These are the things that we work on in the Female Hormone Solution Program. In the Hormone Solution Program, we're focused on you. We're focused on getting your system to function better. And that way you don't need to be taking all these supplements forever. That's not the goal. It's, hey, you're moving in the wrong direction here, function wise. Let's turn that ship around, get you moving in the right direction. And then there you go. Keep your system functioning well on its own. So that's what I got for you guys today. Please let me know if you have any other questions, if you need any other guidance or anything. But the best place to start is in the notes here. Go click that link. You know where all the links are. Click that link. Get started. And again, if you have any questions, don't hesitate. For anything that you fill out, a lot of times I'll send out a survey or something and people will fill things out. If you're like, hey, help me right now. I need something now. Do not hesitate. Do not wait. Do not think, God, I don't want to bother her. You're not a bother, right? I hear these things all the time. Stop being miserable. Stop expecting certain things to just magically change for you. You have to be in charge of you and your health right now. So now's the best time to get started. So, all right. Have a great rest of your night. Let me know if you need anything else, and I will see you guys later. Thank you for joining me on today's episode. If you would like more information, just head on over to drbethwesty.com for all the show notes and information from today's episode. And if you're looking for more community, more support, you can find and follow me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and I would love to see you there.